Hello everyone, this is Men's here. I'm doing an overview of the Tog II asterisk, which is the British premium tier 6 heavy tank. Now as you see, the Tog is very large and its maximum weight 85 tons, but 83 tons fully equipped with most equipment. Now the Tog is definitely a very slow tank. Speed limit 14 kilometers an hour, which is near T95 levels. As you see though, hull armor not exactly that good. 76mm, 76mm, and 50mm on the back. Now, funny thing is, the armor, if you check out the weak spot guides on wattguru.com, armor on the back actually can prove to be better than the armor on the front, only because this highly angled plate back here, if you angle a little bit more, actually makes the auto balance angle very easily obtainable, unless if someone's shooting down at your armor if they're close to you. So a lot of rounds will bounce off if they don't hit the flat edge or if they're not shooting down. So putting your butt to the enemy sometimes makes sense in the Tog. Not always, but it's a viable tactic, especially if you facing this way, you put this end into like the corner or a wall of a building, and then you kind of angle out your tank so it's kind of crooked. That way your turret, you're basically a rear mounted turret on a tank. Then you can stick your turret out a lot better and at a higher angle, so you can shoot around corners better. That's just a little thing. It takes a little bit of time to set it up since you're such a slow tank, but it can prove to be valuable. However, the main selling feature of the Tog, 1400 hit points at tier 6, which is comparable to tier 7 tanks. And even then, you have more HP than some tier 7 tanks, which is pretty nice. And even though you're slow and lack of armor, and you have that good amount of HP, you do get a pretty decent gun with the 17 pounder. It's only 76mm, but it does have a very good rate of fire at 12 rounds per minute for a base value. And penetration wise, AP is okay since the accuracy's usable. It's not great or it's not bad either. And APCR round is pretty good at 239. Helps you deal with any of the tougher tanks that you're going to be facing. You do have a lot of ammo. I carry almost a shit ton of HP, or AP, not HP, and APCR carry 19. Could bump that up to 20 just to make it a even value, but overall, you usually don't go through all your APCR rounds, nor do you want to, since, as you're going to see here, 3,200 credits, that's expensive compared to 175 credits for the regular AP. So if you fire a lot of APCR, you're not going to make any profit at all, since it's only a tier 6 premium tank. Okay, and since I covered the whole armor, as you see the turret armor, 114mm in the front, which sounds good, but as you see here, not very angled, so you don't even have a lot of protection there, except for from tier 5, tier 4 tanks. So you don't really want to rely on that. Now I'm going to hop into a battle here. As you see with my equipment too, I do have a spall liner on it, only because you are very slow and Artie tends to kind of focus on a very large, slow moving target with a lot of HP and lack of armor, so I kind of like having the spall liner on there just to help me with that. Now, most maps, the Tog, you want to stick to cover. You don't want to get out in the open, unless if you're with two other Togs, then you can just be a big wall of HP. But I'm going to stick to the town here, although the town's the most important part on this map since the flag's over there on encounter mode.
Let's go!
Now, I'm going to zoom over here at high speed, so this should only take a couple seconds to get over to the town. Or minutes. Or hours. Now, if you don't like slow tanks, as you see here, the Tog is definitely not for you. The turret's very quick on its rotation, but overall, the hull and the tank in general, not so much. Now, playing the Tog, you are very slow, but what you want to do is kind of find decently protected spots as far as cover goes, in case if there's a lot of artillery, and to prevent people from shooting you without you being able to see them. But your main goal is to get out there, take damage for your team since you have a lot of HP, and just keep moving your front line ahead since you're just this lumbering tank. Since your accuracy on the move's okay, so you can just keep plowing forward while taking damage. And the main thing, you don't want to give side shots, especially side shots where your armor is not angled, because you are a very large target and almost everything can just chew right through your side armor. And I probably could have stayed back there, only because it looks like there's quite a bit of people there. I'm just gonna try to push up here. Hopefully there's more enemies than there are in the 1 and 2 line over this way. But as you can imagine, when you have a team that kills people before you actually get to them, matches like this can be a little bit boring. Although that KV-1S, I'm not going to be able to keep up with him. I'm just going to turn around now, set up in this center road, since it looks like most of the enemies are in the field. Set up in that reverse side scraping setup I kind of touched on before the fight. It does help your armor out a bit, and it will give you a decent amount of protection from most things shooting at you. And only half your speed, which isn't that much when you're only going 13 miles or kilometers an hour. I'm actually going to turn around just to help me out a little bit.
Enemy armor damaged. Enemy vehicle destroyed.
As you see, Tog, you're really slow, but once you get to the fight, you have a lot of HP. Your armor can be increased with a few little tricks, and your gun is surprisingly good. It doesn't pack a lot of punch per shot, but the whole package of the gun is very nice for a tank that's a premium tank. Kind of fumbling around with the chat there. I was used to Battlefield 4's chat a little bit. Anyway, as you see there, 3 kills. Pretty okay match. It was kind of boring in the beginning, but that kind of proves a point that the Tog is very slow. Just over 1,000 damage, and didn't really take much damage overall. 35 1,000 credits, 600. For tier 6 premium is kind of what you want to expect for most matches. But as you see, with the low cost of the AP shell, only 175 credits, you do make a decent net profit if you mostly fire AP rounds. As you see here too, only because most of the times I do have brothers and arms on my tank, don't really have that extra loader. I moved it over to a tank destroyer, so I can't use it right now without incurring a penalty, but your reload time will come down a bit from what you just saw in that match. Okay, now let's hop into another battle. As you see, my other equipment pieces are a rammer and vents, only because the gun, when you actually get to the fight, you want your gun to work very well, since your main feature is your gun and your HP. So you can't really affect your HP, but the spall liner kind of helps with that. So instead, you really want to bump up your gun a little bit to increase that DPM. Now, map like this, I don't want to go down to 9-0 line. It could be a benefit because you kind of can set up on a corner, not have to move much, but at the same time, can't really get back to base, and you only influence one route on the map. Instead, going over to, say, the G6 area, you can pick either going to the bridge, middle of the map, or the southern part of the map. So it gives you options, and in a slow tank like the Tog, or any kind of tank like a T95 that's very slow, if you don't know where you want to be very quickly in the beginning of the map, I usually go to places where I can easily go to a few other places without having to backtrack or take too much time getting there. Because nothing's worse than going down the 9 line and having no one helping you or no enemies there and your whole team dies. So even though there is nobody there, which kinda getting a little hesitant to keep going. Instead, I'm just gonna keep going through. We have 2 DDs in our base, so they can at least hold the enemy off while I backtrack. But I'm just gonna kind of set up where this martyr is. Hopefully do a little bit of damage, and if they spot people coming up the 9 line, then I'm gonna backtrack to the base. Now normally this wouldn't really be my go-to spot in G5 as far as setting up and staying there for a little bit, but I just don't want to move too far from the base just because we don't have a lot of people there.
We've lost a track. We're stuck here.
And I'm gonna say that this guy is right back there.
Track repaired. Drive on.
So far we have not spotted that many people, which is a little concerning since it doesn't seem like our M4, and there's a few of them, our M4 can spot around that corner. It looks like a TD's going up the 9 line at least. But fortunately, they get spotted 2 people there. There's a Tog slowly moving, and it looks like they're trying to push the Tog. So, skirt, I'm actually going to go into the middle of the map, which I didn't really want to because it's soft ground. But it seems like the South's doing okay. They killed 3 guys down there already. And most of the enemies are on the ice road. And so I'm just going to go into the middle of the map to be able to do something in this match. But once again, just like in the beginning of Rowing Bird, you don't really have the speed to get to where you want to be in matches where your team does pretty well killing people that are further ahead.
We damaged them. Enemy is hit. We damaged them. Penetration. Enemy armor is damaged. Enemy is hit. Penetration. Enemy is hit. Enemy armor is hit.
As you see, that Tog, it was a little too angled, so you could easily hit his side, and he kind of missed me
Damage them.
at least once. And it's really evened out the fight. He had a lot more HP,
Hit. Crack hit. We didn't penetrate their armor. We're immobilized. Enemy armor is damaged. We damaged them. Enemy vehicle
always
is
be aware of
destroyed.
your surroundings. I just wanted to get behind that rock a little bit more, and I think he hit it, so that actually saved me, I think.
Penetration.
Overall, not the best match, but kind of survived. As you see, it's just kind of auto aim with the armor sometimes. You just go right through it. Enemies can go right through it too. I did bounce 2 times, I think, on the Tog. That's only because I was hitting the very lower section, I believe, of the glacis, just down here. And I was hitting the bottom part, which was causing it to bounce. Or I was hitting the tracks, and the tracks soak up a lot of damage if people actually hit them. So overall, I still did the most amount of damage since I was shooting the enemy Tog, and even though you're useless for most of the fights, you always get a decent amount of damage in because you have that good gun and you have a lot of HP for the enemies to have to go through before you die. And then I soaked up 1600 damage, which, it's okay, but at the same time my HP was a lot of that chunk. And then 55,000 credits, which for tier 6 is pretty good. Overall, the Tog isn't for everyone because it is very slow, and the lack of armor, it can make it very hard to play if you don't really pick the right spots to go. As you see with the last 2 fights, I was kind of useless for the first couple minutes in both of them, but the spots I picked, they allowed me to kind of move slowly to where I actually need it to be later on in the match. So you're not exactly going to influence the start of the match for most fights, but where you end up 2, 3, 4 minutes into the match is very important, which can make it very hard to play. But for those who like slower tanks and unique tanks like the Tog, it is a pretty good buy since overall, aside from the speed and lack of armor, it doesn't really have any other glaring downsides that a lot of premium tanks have. And it is pretty fun to play, especially if you can team up with another one or even get up to 3 in a platoon. So overall, pretty good tank, and I wouldn't suggest a very new person to get it, but it is a pretty good buy for most players. But thanks for watching my video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my website, wotguru.com. You can find a Tog weak spot guide on it, and as well as a tank guide. Thanks for watching.